Founder Space, Startup Supercharged. I'm Captain Hawk, CEO of Founder Space, the leading global startup accelerator. I'm also author of the award-winning books, Make Elephants Fly, Surviving a Startup, and The 5 Forces. This week, we have Joel Stone as our guest. He is the author of Stay Hungry and the managing director of Codebreak. Joel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleased to be here.
It's great to have you. I want to dive deep with you on your book, Stay Hungry.
Sure.
So tell us a little about your book, how you came up with the idea, kind of the big change that you're trying to make with this book.
Sure. So we had this little problem called the global pandemic, and had a bit of time on my hands. So myself and my business partner decided to write a book that any entrepreneur, any business owner can pick up. And if they've ever felt like marketing might be witchcraft and wizardry, they can take our book and from chapter 1 through 10, really practical, easy to implement advice that will work for anybody.
Great. Now tell us, I'm an entrepreneur, work with hundreds of entrepreneurs out there. We're all having trouble marketing. We all know we could do a better job. But a lot of the entrepreneurs I work with are early stage. They don't have a lot of capital. So they want to market, but they're not yet, they haven't pulled in the millions and millions or billions of dollars in funding. They're at the earlier stage. What is some advice you could give them?
So dial in on the things you're really good at. So I know when I was a startup business, I know some of the startup entrepreneurs that we work with now, early stage businesses, the temptation is to try and do a bit of everything. I must post on LinkedIn every day. I must post on Facebook every day. I must do an Instagram every day. I need to get on TikTok. And what happens is you end up being a really kind of busy fool. And what my number one piece of advice would focus on something that you feel passionate about and that you're good at. So let's say it's Instagram, and decide there and then, right, I'm going to post a piece of content to Instagram every day that aligns with the vision of my business. So it might be on a Monday, you post an Instagram post that talks about how, as a owner of your business, you prepare for the week. Then Tuesday, you would post about a project that you're involved in. Wednesday, you'd post some social proof on a case study of something that you've done in the past. Thursday, you would do something about one of the members of your team. Friday, you'd do something about how the team winds down for the weekend. Saturday, you would do a piece of advice that will help entrepreneurs who maybe are sat there kind of twiddling their thumbs because they're not very good at weekends. And then Sunday, you would do something that prepares you for the week, and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, and always leave a call to action in that post that basically says, look, if you'd like to know more, DM me and we can talk about it. Be that specific. Don't just try and do every platform or try and do every email funnel or try and do every advertising campaign, because you can't afford the time or the money yet.
Yes. And I found myself in the same boat, and I know most entrepreneurs do. It's overwhelming. There are so many platforms, and each of these platforms is different. How people use them is different. The type of content that goes viral and gets shared is different. The type of, how the productions you do and the quality of the productions are different. So I think that's really good advice, is just focus on one and make it a super success rather than spreading yourself out and having all these, not very successful social media channels, which most people do, that don't get any real traction. The other thing you mentioned that I like is you walked us through an example of a person's week. Now, a big challenge I think entrepreneurs have is, sharing stuff about ourselves. Some people are really good at it. And some people can find something. They're like natural storytellers, natural entertainers. They can find something every day and make it sound really interesting and informative and something that somebody will want to read. Other people, honestly, are a little boring. Like they are good at their business, like they know their business, but they just aren't that naturally entertaining person. What does somebody like that do?
So that's really interesting, because I definitely have felt like that person in the past, and there's two parts to that. One, you've probably built your image, your business in your image, and not realized you've done it. And two, you're never as boring as you think you are. So what's boring to you, like the fact that you get up at 5 o'clock to get all of your personal life out of the way so you can concentrate on running your business, is absolutely fascinating to your customer base. Or the fact that you go swimming at every lunchtime so that you've got the mental capacity to get on with the day for the rest of the day because you work long hours, is really interesting to people. And it's kind of getting, you've got some people whose ego maybe tells them that they're really interesting and they should share every piece of food they eat with their entire audience. And then you've got some people whose ego does the opposite and bullies them and says, look, you're not interesting, you're boring. Well, you're not. It doesn't matter what business you're in, you've got something to share. And the other thing that comes from this is that sometimes people are scared to let people see behind the curtain, but that's exactly what they need to see to buy from you. So it's that kind of like, this is what a day in the life of me as the CEO of this company looks like. And therefore you're more relatable. There's more know, like, and trust, and they're more likely to buy from you.
So you want people to, you're recommending that as an entrepreneur, a CEO of my business, people want to know me as a person. And if they connect with me as a person, they're much more likely to engage with my business. So you're talking about social media as really sharing who I am, like what's going on in my head, what's going on in my life. Some people are better at that than others, honestly. Some people
Yeah.
want to share, or they always have something, and just other people have trouble. And then how do the people, like, some people are good at that, like they always have something interesting. Honestly, when I think about my day, I'm not very good at that. Like what,
Sure.
because I think, like, people don't want to know what I ate for lunch. People do not want to know, what time I got up in the morning. I automatically think that, but you're telling me people do want to know that?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So particularly if you're a startup and anywhere up to kind of like 5 million, you're still the face of your business, whether you want to be or not. You are the face of your business. And like my most successful post in the last 3 months was, I did a story on Instagram, and all it listed was from 5:30 a.m. till 8 p.m. at night, my schedule for the day. I
And
added
people loved it.
I added, yeah, I added a few emojis for kind of to jazz it up a little, but ultimately that's the post that's reached the most people, because the day in the life of an entrepreneur is strange. It's different to what most people see, and that kind of like, wow, you're really dedicated to this. Like, there's not much room to breathe there. You live by your diary. That kind of thing fascinates people.
So you're saying be genuine, just put it out there. Don't worry about whether they're interested. Just share your life. Now, I have a question.
Hmm.
Some, there's some social media channels that where the entrepreneur will really focus on themes. Like they may
Yeah.
focus on giving financial advice, like, and they're not talking about themselves. They're talking about like financial advice they're giving. Others will focus on giving advice to their industry. Like if they're a pet care business, if they're running a pet care startup, it will all be about different pet care tips and things like that.
Sure.
Those aren't as and some people blend the personal with that. What's your take on that? Is that a better approach?
It it's a cool, if you put value out there, value will come back to you. That's just a proven thing, that the more you put out, the more will come back to you. But the problem you will have is, say, let's pick on the pets business. So you sell pet merchandise, pet toys, pet food. What's to stop all of your competitors doing exactly the same thing? So they can just post all day, every day, tips for looking after your dog, tips for the best dog food to keep your dog's fur looking sleek. Anyone can do that. What's the unique thing about your business? Now, it might not be that you're the unique thing about your business. It might be the unique thing is that when people come to buy dog food from you, there's a dog playground outside where all the dogs get to play together. So focus on that. Or it might be you have a cafe at your dog food shop. And so all the local dog owners come and have a cup of coffee, and you can kind of focus on the conversations that have been created there, the different dogs that have visited that day. But you've got to have a bit of a narrative. You can't just be the company that posts a few tips and advice here and there and expect an influx of inquiries. It's not how it works.
Okay, you laid it out really well. That's really good advice, because so what you're saying is, even if you're going to be product focused or advice focused, it has to be personal. It has to be unique. It has to be the soul of your business, or the soul of who you are. And the closer you get to that, you're saying the bigger response you'll get from your customer base.
I think so. I think if you are not confident about bringing your personality forward, that people will sense that, and that will hold your business back. And what happens is then when you get into things like the sales process, people kind of question your authenticity, when it's not a lack of authenticity, it's a lack of confidence, but they can't tell the difference, and then you lose the sale.
Yeah, I totally get it. And you have a dead Instagram account, or a dead,
Yeah, exactly.
nobody's responding to your tweets, which doesn't look good. Let me ask you another question. So there's some people, let's face it, who just will never be great at social media. Should they just not do it and focus on other things?
There's an argument for that, for sure. It's not the only way to build a business, particularly at startup stage. So many businesses do really well from word of mouth and referrals at that stage. Maybe they've dropped out of industry to start up, and for the first 18 months, they should focus on all the phone numbers that they've got in their phone book and calling them, asking them
Yeah,
who do
and
they
startup
need.
founders are super busy, right? So some of them just don't have time for social media, or don't want to make the time. They'd rather focus in different ways. Let me talk, and stay hungry. What other key pieces of advice do you give entrepreneurs? So we got the social media one. Give us another.
So a massive one is niche. The very first chapter is all about your target audience, and the biggest mistake I see startup businesses and fast growing businesses make is they try to be everything to everyone. They rightly feel passionate about their business and close to their business, and so they think other people should feel as passionate about it as they do, and they forget to focus on who will benefit the most. Normally born out of fear that if they're too focused, they'll miss out on sales. And it's simply not true. I met a guy very recently, and his business is cleaning services for dentists. So all they focus on is cleaning dental surgeries. And obviously there's a level of cleanliness a dental practice has to have. But that's a tight niche. But it's great because this messaging is so clear. His business grows so well.
Yeah, and if you're a dentist and you look at, and that's all they do, you trust them. Yeah, implicitly. You're like, okay, they know how to clean a dentist office. I could get a cheaper service, but they might not know what the heck they're doing.
Exactly. And you save money on your marketing. You save so much money,
right? Because you know exactly. So so initially, the more niche you can be, the better. Now, there's certain businesses where that's hard, right? Because the niche area is so small, they need to be broader, or they need to incorporate several niches to actually make enough money to grow. What do you recommend for that?
So we use a tactic here that works really well. So let's say you're a photocopier sales company, and you can't just be photocopiers for accountants. It's not going to work. You need to just target maybe, let's say you need to target offices with over 20 people in. That's kind of your game. Where are you going to find the least friction in making sales is the businesses that you resonate with. So something we built into our digital advertising, Andy, my business partner, is a big Star Trek fan. So when we're building our target audiences up, it will be, for the photocopier business, it would be must have at least 20 staff, must be operating at a certain level of turnover, must be within this radius because that's where we can deliver, and also must like Star Trek. And what happens is you jump onto phone calls and you slip in a little fact about Star Trek, and the person on the other end of the call gets really, really excited. And the business is done before you've even talked about photocopiers.
So, and what you're really talking about is you're getting on a platform like Facebook where you can figure out if they like Star Trek. So you
Yeah.
can
And
figure out if they're a fan. So you're using that data, that insight, to connect with your customers.
precisely. And then you're niching on personality, not on business type.
Interesting. Okay, I hadn't thought of, focusing in on, and you could do that over and over on different areas. Like you could do Star Trek until you run out of Star Treks, and then go for
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
else.
So
Yeah.
let's say as a business, our business is quite loud. It's, like our emblem is a dinosaur. So let's say one of our things is we're only going to target CEOs that like dinosaurs. Well, every time they see one of our adverts, chances are they're going to see this dinosaur illustration. It's going to click. It's going to make sense. But if I was to say, I only want to work with CEOs in businesses between 1.2 and 1.5 million, and they need to be within a 20-mile radius of here, I'm probably going way too narrow.
Mm-hmm. So with this niche and with this this kind of targeting people who have certain passions and trying to build that passions into your marketing, do you recommend building like different landing pages for different passions? So when you're targeting customers with different passions, or
Yeah,
not?
yeah, exactly that. Exactly. So you might have on the front end, your advertising would be different. So the visuals you use, the wording you use, you might not be so on the nose that you say like, have you, I don't even know much about Star Trek. It was a terrible example to use, but like, I don't know, have you been on the latest Starship Enterprise, blah, blah, blah. You wouldn't be that kind of on the nose with it, but you might just sort of hint at some interesting sci-fi, and some of the visuals you use might be a little bit more sci-fi, and then the landing page they land on kind of hammers it home a little bit more, and then by the time you have the conversation, you're kind of not talking about photocopiers anymore.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to number 3 piece of advice. So is there a third thing our entrepreneurs can take away that they can use in terms of marketing?
Yeah, and it's understanding the lifetime value of a customer. So many startup businesses haven't done their research in terms of knowing, one, what a transaction is worth to them, and then 2, how many transactions that customer will make over a lifetime with them. So they can't make marketing decisions because they don't know what to budget. And so I will very often sit down with a business owner and say, what's your cost per acquisition? And they don't know. And I'll say, okay, what's your cost per lead? And they don't know. And then I say, okay, what would you be willing to pay to acquire someone? I don't know. Okay, how many leads do you need to acquire that person? I don't know. Well, where do I need to start? You need to start by calculating the lifetime value of a customer, because until we know that, we don't know what anything's worth. So we don't know what you're willing to spend, and we've got no starting point. And it blows their mind, because time and again, they've met marketing agencies that are talking to them about how many times they're going to post on Facebook, how much reach they need, how to get their name out there, what color the logo needs to be. And yet they haven't done the fundamentals yet.
Yeah, the fundamentals are critical. LTV, every entrepreneur needs to know exactly how that works.
Yeah.
Let's go deep in a little different area. So a lot of people, especially if they're doing B2B sales, not direct to consumer or anything like that, they use LinkedIn. Do you have advice for, LinkedIn? There's so many people contacting me on LinkedIn. I don't respond to most of them because they're trying to sell me something.
Sure.
We don't like to be approached and cold emails the same way. They're just trying to sell you something, and you're kind of automatically screening and deleting them. How do you break through that if you're an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So weirdly, I've just done a podcast about this very subject. So 20 years ago, everybody had to leave their phone off the hook if they had a landline, because they were getting so many cold calls. And LinkedIn has become that playground. It's like, I'm scared to look at my LinkedIn inbox because somebody's going to offer me a mortgage. And that's kind of where we're at. And that's a lot of noise to cut through, particularly for B2B businesses that kind of think LinkedIn is the place to be. And LinkedIn, for some reason, has also become the place where everybody hangs out their dirty washing. It's like it's a tricky playground at the moment, and you just can't do that to people. I completely respect that you should be actively looking for people to connect with on LinkedIn. That is a cool tactic. But you shouldn't be trying to sell them in the first message. You need to connect as humans first. You need to kind of say, like, I saw your profile, your last post about washing machines was really insightful. Thank you for putting this content out there. I got a lot of value from it. And then just engage, and over
Now,
time build those relationships.
but do people feel sort of deceived when you say you like their post, or you say something about their background that you figured out from their profile, and then you segue into selling them something? Do they feel like,
So
they just wanted to sell me something?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
all
So
BS, that first
yeah,
part.
sure. Don't say it if you don't mean it. That's number one. Do not say things that you don't mean, because you will get found out. And number two, don't segue too early. So give them a chance to get a feel for what you're about first. You know, once you've connected with someone, if they've accepted your connection request and read your message, they'll probably go look at your profile. So make sure there's something valuable on your profile. The post pinned to the top, maybe that's a short video outlining your services and some social proof. But there's an element of patience that a lot of businesses forget. And so a lot of coaches out there now, a lot of marketing companies out there now are saying, look, spark up a conversation, segue to sale. And I simply don't think that's true. I think
I don't either, because people are too savvy now. They're just,
yeah,
and we get bombarded, right? We know everybody's trying to find a way in to get our attention. And then we feel like, they're manipulating us, gaslighting us if they switch to sales. Even if they switch to sales after going back and forth a few times, I'd still feel, like, oh, they just wanted to sell me. And that's a negative feeling.
Yeah. So something we use is powerful questions, and this is it is a tactic, but you should only use it from a place of kind of love, really. So if somebody has posted about washing machines, like I said, I don't know why I use that example, but let's say that they run a washing machine repair company, and they've posted about washing machines, and you've genuinely interested in whatever they said. A question you might ask would be, what would be the number one thing that would help you get this message out to more people? So as a marketing company, I could ask that question, and you'd be amazed what people answer when you ask that question. And then just be honest, say, I'd love to help you out with that with some time, but I just don't want to give you the hard sell in LinkedIn DMs, because I'm sure you've got 100 other people trying to do that. And they relax.
Yeah, I think in some ways being upfront about what you do, there's different philosophies. Like, some of what I want to do is, if I'm connecting with somebody on LinkedIn that I really want to get through to, is almost just be upfront. This is why I contacted you, specific, be specific and upfront. Like, I specifically wanted to reach out to you for this reason.
Yeah. And I think that's, to use an analogy, that's arranging the date, but don't try and go in for the kiss.
So let's go to other ways that you can, like, for a B2B customer, what are other channels? Like, LinkedIn is becoming very spammy, as you said. People already, email is like super spammy. We get bombarded all the time. Is there a channel that actually works better than these?
So strange, if we're talking digital, strangely, TikTok is really powerful right now.
Really? I don't use TikTok much.
Yeah, and like me neither, which is strange. But everyone is starting to use it, and the audience is starting to mature. And I think the opportunity to grab attention there is huge compared to other platforms. So your reach is massive. You can get in front of very specific people quite easily. It's inexpensive. So that's the difference.
easier to reach out to people because they're not being spammed so much on TikTok, and it's
precisely.
The video content, their algorithm really helps. Yeah. So my friend just the other weekend was showing me about TikTok videos for business. And I thought most TikTok videos before that were just kind of, viral fluff, whatever,
kids doing dances.
Kids doing stupid things, right? So I was like, why am I on that platform? I'm a business person. But he was showing me all these amazing videos for TikTok. So yeah, we are seeing that trend right now where people, and the content was really good. I was surprised. And
it's really engaging because people are getting really smart at creating content.
Yeah, and some of that takes time and production to produce, like to actually produce, like the content you were showing me. I mean, they spent time on it. It wasn't just something they cranked out.
So I think as a startup or a small business, the other channel for B2B where you can make a massive impact very quickly and nobody is doing is direct mail. And it's a weird thing for a digital
The old-fashioned way?
Yeah.
Like in the post office?
Yeah, exactly. You send someone a box now with a ribbon on it and a nicely sealed envelope with a handwritten letter, and the impact that will have will blow your mind because
they'll actually read it.
It'll be the only piece of post they've had for 2 weeks. So it's like, who sent me this? What have I done? What did I order? Has my wife ordered something? And then they realize, and you're kind of like in an audience of one. It's very direct.
That is a great idea. And especially if it's big ticket items, like if you're going in for an enterprise sale or something like that, you can afford to send them a box of chocolates or something really unique.
I mean, one startup business that we worked with, they were very high ticket. And their marketing budget for the year, I think, was $10,000. They bought 5 iPads. They embedded a video on each of the iPads, and they sent each of the iPads to the CEO of the 5 main prospects they were targeting. They got 4 sales.
And those iPads paid for themselves 1,000x, I'm sure. That is, great idea, right? Great. So we're going to wrap up now. Joel, would you like to give one more piece of advice before we end the show?
Yeah. So I think you need to be as vulnerable as you possibly can as an entrepreneur of a growing business, and that's being willing to take risks. That's being willing to take criticism, because very often you'll come under the heaviest criticism when you're doing the right thing, and that's being willing to put yourself front and center when other people wouldn't, and lead your team to success. And that's kind of what Stay Hungry is about. That's what the Stay Hungry philosophy is.
Thank you, Joel. This has been fantastic. Now, where our audience, I'm sure they want to reach out to you. You've been really great. Where can they find you?
Best place is to hook up with me at JoelStone13 on Instagram. You can DM me. As long as you don't try and sell me in the first DM, we'll be fine. And you can grab the Stay Hungry book on Amazon. And
remember, Joel doesn't watch Star Trek, so don't use that when you're contacting.
I'm the Star Wars guy of the operation. So
so mention something about Star Wars instead, or washing machines. Thank you, Joel. It has been wonderful having you. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you liked it, hit the subscribe button and share it with your friends. You can help us create more great content by subscribing and sharing. Also, if you want to access our online startup program, our investor network, and our entrepreneur resources, just come to founderspace.com.